The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Namaskar, I'm Dada Ranjitananda. Today we are continuing our Astaunga Yoga course. Is the class number 13. As I mentioned, Astaunga Yoga is practice. 99% practice, 1% theory, or let's say 99.9% practice, 0.1% theory. And so far, we have seen the first limb, second limb, and third limb, and I'm now stressing on the practice that you have learned the three limbs of the Astaunga Yoga. Now it is very important to put it into practice. Then you will feel it working. We talked about practice the previous class, and I'm continuing to talk about practice now. So, what is your morning practice? As you wake up, the first thought, a special thought, meditative thought, the mantra, a spiritual thought, a good positive thought. Then you are going to move your body. How to move? The first movement, the Utkshepa mudra. We did it before. A mudra that stimulates the whole body, all the systems of the body, circulatory, digestive, everything gets stimulated. Then you go for shaucha, cleanliness, morning cleanliness, preparing your body, getting it right. After cleanliness, go for meditation, mantra meditation. Use the mantra, Baba Nam Kevalam. Just repeat it in your mind with the feeling that you are surrounded by the infinite, loving this infinite love. After that, work on your body, do the asanas, the yogic exercises, and the yoga exercise session with auto massage. We reviewed it. Then complete relaxation. After that, another important practice, breakfast. Have a good breakfast, nutritious, good for the body, good for the mind. If you can establish yourself in this morning practice daily, that itself will change the quality of your life. In the previous class, we talked about the practice of niyama, all the points that help you to help a good relationship with yourself. Then we ended up the previous class with this idea that after breakfast, after all your morning practice, you are now have nourished yourself mentally, spiritually, physically. Now you are ready for the day. And during the day, you are going to meet other beings. You are going to relate with other human beings, with other animals, with plants, with so many other beings. And that's the time that you can practice yama. What are the opportunities to practice yama? Whenever you meet a second being, that's an opportunity to practice yama. Any moment you are going to talk to somebody, you are going to relate to somebody, you are looking at somebody, any interaction with another being, that's the time you can practice yama. And yama has 5 points. The first point, ahimsa, It's a very important point. And today's class, I'm going to give more space to this practice, to the practice of ahimsa. And I will also request at the end of the class that you spend this whole week until next class working on this ahimsa point. You know, it's the first point of yama. There is a reason for that. It means non-harming, not to harm anyone. But that's not enough. We also have to oppose the people who harm. If somebody is harming others, we have to oppose it. So that's part of the practice. Suppose you want to oppose it, but you are not strong enough. We need to make ourselves stronger so that we are able to oppose those who are causing harm. Maybe they are causing harm just to another individual. Maybe they are causing harm to a whole community. Maybe they are causing harm to the whole planet. It will be necessary that we do an effort, that we put an effort to acquire the ability to oppose, to be able to oppose that. From one side, we are not harming ourselves. We are not doing anything to harm other beings. On the other side, we also opposing those who are harming other beings, the environment, the planet, whatever. For that, we need strength. There are three kinds of strength. Physical strength. If I am very strong physically, I can help people, I can do things. But physical strength has its limitations. Maybe I can be strong as 10 people. There is also psychic strength. Just by having that psychic strength, you can oppose maybe not 10 people, but maybe 100 people or 1,000 people with psychic strength, mental strength. We need to acquire mental strength. And Astaunga Yoga gives us a lot of mental strength. And there is a third kind of strength, and that is spiritual strength. Spiritual strength is very subtle, but it can change maybe not 1,000 people, maybe 100,000 people. Spiritual vibrations, very subtle, very peaceful. They can create changes in other beings. We all have heard the story of Saint Francis. He used to be very close to animals. The animals didn't fear him. He could help all those beings also. It was all in his mind. It was his state of mind was creating that harmonious environment. And with that harmonious environment, he was able to help. Therefore, physical strength is important. Exercise, keep yourself fit. Mental strength is important. Meditate, concentrate, develop the mind, study, develop rationality, balanced mind, no complex, no inferiority complex, no superiority complex. Spiritual strength, connection with the infinite, connection with that infinite power. That's the strongest force. Okay, continuing. In ahimsa, one of the main points is that all the actions we are doing, we are not doing with the intention of causing pain to others. Self-defense. Self-defense is okay. We should be prepared for self-defense. And not only our self-defense, also defending others. That's also part of ahimsa. That's included in ahimsa. We need to be practical. Life in this planet, in this creation, depends on other forms of life for its existence. One being feeds on other beings. Even us as human beings, even being vegetarian, we are feeding on other life. Maybe we are not eating animals, but we are eating plants. Maybe we are not killing the animals, but we're killing the plants. But that's the law of this creation, that one being depends on other being. What can we do about? What we can do is we choose those beings or those items in which consciousness is less developed comparatively. For example, if there are vegetables, why should we eat animals? Animals are more developed. We are killing a more developed life without need. And anywhere in the world today, vegetables are available. I remember years ago, I went to Greenland. When I was preparing to go, people were asking me, Dada, what are you going to eat there? I had not thought much about it, but I became a little bit worried. Oh yeah, what will I eat there? But what happened? Before going, I thought, well, I'm here in Denmark and I'm going to Greenland. I still have a little bit money left. Maybe I buy a little bit food and carry with me. I did that. To my surprise, when I arrived in Greenland, I saw that they have the same supermarket that I bought food in Denmark was also in Greenland. There was no need to worry. And that's the situation of our planet today, that everywhere food is available and can be made available. Maybe we are in some remote area and the food is not available there. It's not available, but if we put effort, we can make it because we have the technological means, we have transportation means, we have all the ways that food could be available everywhere. In fact, there is no need for people nowadays to be hungry because food can be taken in a helicopter. One of the main problems is conflict. In situations of conflict, this problem may happen because one will not be able to go there, and that's caused by us human beings. Otherwise, we do have the resources to make food available to everyone, everywhere. And to give a choice to choose the food that is better for the body and better for the mind and better for the other beings also, better for the planet, better for consciousness. All right, this much here. It is true that we may be establishing non-harming, we don't harm anybody, we don't do anything to harm others. But you know, uh, a spiritualist has to be a practical person. We have to be practical. We have to understand what's going on in the world. There are enemies, let's say. What kind of enemies, you may say? Well, look, anyone who, by use of brute force, wants to take possession of others' property, murder, poison people, destroy things, we can think that those people are real enemies. And against those people, we have to, let's say, we'll need to fight. We'll need to use strength. We need to use force, maybe violence, but it may be necessary. Now we have to be practical. We have to observe the situation. We have to see according to the situation. One person following ahimsa is not what we call, let's say, goody-goody. Everything good. Oh, yeah. Beat me, I beat again. It's not really like that. Now, we want to establish non-harming in the society, that people will not have the intent to harm others. But we have to understand that there are a variety of beings, humans or not, in this creation, and we have to behave with them accordingly. Maybe these beings are our natural enemies. Maybe the human beings, they are working with the intent of harming. Now we have to oppose that. We have to create circumstances that make it not possible for them to do it. That's also part of ahimsa. As you can see, just this point, just this practice of ahimsa can change the whole dynamics of the society. We cannot establish everyone, well, we cannot expect everyone to be established in ahimsa. We can be established ourselves, and included in being established ourselves is the practice of helping others to establish themselves, creating circumstances, opposing actions that are against ahimsa. The opposite of ahimsa, which means non-harming, is himsa. It means harming. It's just the opposite. Ahimsa, non-harming. Himsa, harming. A simple example of harming: destroying a work of art. We saw it in many situations. We saw it how religious sentiments created the circumstances that religious art was destroyed. Even intellectual knowledge was destroyed. All that is himsa. It's a violence against the human nature, against the human society. We have also to be attentive, active against such actions, such mentalities. People act out of a certain mentality, a certain ideology that they follow. The person can change if the ideology is changed. But as long as the person is following a certain ideology, they will act in a certain way. Now, our fight is to remove those ideologies from the mind of people, replace with better ideologies, replace with the idea of ahimsa, non-harming, not creating problem to others. And that's an active thing, and it requires strength, mental strength, physical strength, spiritual strength. Already I'm reaching to the homework. Your homework. Practice ahimsa consciously this week. Many people think that a point like ahimsa is something that, oh yes, I know it, I do it. And we think that it will happen automatically. Something we write in a paper and yes, I'm going to follow it. But I would like to ask you to do it consciously this week and recording your experiences and email me. That's the email there on the slide. How to do it consciously. The moment you come in contact with another being, let's say you are going to meet a friend, or you are going to work, and there you are going to meet your workmates, your colleagues. Those are moments that you can practice ahimsa. Just by being conscious of it, anytime you start an interaction, be conscious that you are going to start this interaction and it should be based on non-harming in any way and on opposing injustice. Now you are going to start relating with that person, with that consciously in your mind. And then record any experience that you have in such situation. That's the homework for this week. Questions? One question I see here about the non-violence. How to be non-violent? If ahimsa is the same as non-violence? Well, it's not really the same. It is close but not exactly the same. For example, in non-violence, sometimes the underlying idea is to be a little bit passive, kind of accepting. In ahimsa, is more to be active, doing action. It's a subtle difference. Sometimes in ahimsa, for example, when dealing with enemies, one may be needed to use violence. But the idea underlying ahimsa is the intent is not to harm. When we say non-violence, the intent may be not to use violence. Okay? The difference is subtle, but sometimes the subtle things, when they express in the world, they express differently. Let's say that the root idea is the intent of not harming, and here the root idea is not to use violence. You notice the difference. It is subtle, but it will express differently in the action. Hope it answers the question. Okay. A quote from my teacher, Sri Sri Anandamurti. The use of force against an aggressor is valor, and desisting from such use of force is cowardice. And I will add something here. Sometimes we may not have enough strength. Strategically, we should gather enough strength, if possible, before acting. Otherwise, we are bound to be defeated, which is not the intention. Whenever possible, take your time to gather as much strength as you can in order to oppose something successfully. Well, I will only focus on this point today. I will end the webinar here with the homework. Put effort in doing this homework. I think it will be helpful. I don't see any questions. I would like to end the webinar for today. It's a bit shorter than usual, but sometimes we need to focus. So this week, let's focus on this point of ahimsa, on the practice of it. I did introduce all the points of Jama, Niyama, and the asanas thoroughly, and now I'm emphasizing the practice of it before we move ahead to the next limb. Practice, practice, practice. Thank you for attending this webinar. Wish you a good week ahead. Namaskar.